Hello, I'm back. Welcome to my channel, The Long Road Home. And hopefully, after listening to these videos and seeing what I went through, you will feel better. Don't pity me. I'm not making these videos for you so you can feel sorry for me. Don't feel sorry for me. I do not regret a moment of my life or anything that I went through. I needed these woundings to become who I am. Because I am such a much better person. I'm so strong. A hurricane could blow through my life and I would still be standing. Remember that. All right? I need to remember to speak to the camera, not to myself. Anyway, remember that. I am still standing. I do not regret my life. Do not pity me. Rejoice. Be happy for me. Because I'm still standing. I'm still standing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There is still so much love and joy in my heart and so much compassion for other people. I have to say that of all the things that I've learned over the years, it's compassion. It's patience. My God, it's patience. I swear to you, I was one of the most impatient. I still am kind of impatient. But my daughter really helped to teach me patience, especially with her ADHD. She helped me with that. All the thing I went through taught me about discernment, compassion, patience. Good things come to those who wait, and that's the truth. I waited a long time, 57 years, and things are finally getting up, looking up for me. They're finally getting better. I am not going to stop now. I am not going to give up. I will rise. This is our awakening. Look within. Look within and find that spark. Find that divinity. Don't look out here in the world. It's not there. This world, this is a prison. But when you go within, you will find your freedom. You will find out who you really are, your higher self. I mean, my God, we all have those beings that come around us and guide us and take care of us. They're our guides. You can call them your angels, your guides, whatever, your ancestors. They're there. They're here holding our hand, whether we know it or not. Have a little faith in them. Have a little faith in yourself. Like I said, the answers you're looking for aren't out here in the world. They're not in books. They're in the silence between the silence, inside of you. Anyway, let me continue on. Gotta get it all out there. I have this terrible urge to rush, but I won't. I won't. At this point, you know, as I said before, I went to college, got 2 degrees. My daughter was in college. Finally, we got rid of all that crappy school. Horrible, horrible school systems. And I was finally starting to get over my addiction from online gaming. That lasted for about 4 or 5 years. 4 or 5 years just gone. But I had lost hope. I was losing myself. I was on antidepressants. I was diabetic. I'm still diabetic, but I'm off the antidepressants. And it was just one uphill battle. It had always been an uphill battle. That was my whole life, an uphill battle. And I had given up on, my religion because I just wasn't finding the answers there. But I hadn't given up quite yet. I thought several times of unaliving myself, but again, I'm a mother. My husband had already done that to himself, shot himself in the chest. And that was one thing that I knew that I could never do to my family, to my daughter. Because when someone takes their life, it's devastating. It devastates you. It really does. I don't think people understand, if you're considering taking your life, don't do that. There is tomorrow. There is always hope. Look within. Find your peace. You are more than you know. All of us are. But yes, I went back to school, broke my addiction of online, gaming, lost in that little world. And I hurt. That was painful too. A lot of betrayal in there in the online world. I know they're just pixels, but you're still human. There's a human being behind that avatar. They have feelings. Remember that if you're a gamer. Okay? Be kind. Be generous. And let it go. Okay? Because if you don't, you're going to run into trolls like me. Yes, I was a troll. I was a shredder. If anything, over the years, I have gained a mouth on me. Cutting, cruel, the most unkind things. I didn't hold back. And that was it. That was something that was hard for me to let go of too, was the anger. Anger and rage. Just seriously, rage. Anger, rage, disdain, contempt. But I did it. I did do it. But it took a lot. Because as I said, right after I got, I'm right on the cusp of getting my degree, my funding gets cut, I'm losing my eyesight, and the job that I trained for depended on me being able to see. It was a visual job. Web development and design. In case anybody wants to know. My writing had fizzled out. That wasn't going anywhere. I'd given up on that. My art, I'd given up on my art because, artists can't make money. You're just going to starve. Yeah, probably. Yeah, but I'll be happy. But you can't do that when you have a child, And for a long time, I saw that as like a lodestone around my neck, having a child. It was a blessing, yes, but at the same time, it was a heavy load to carry by myself. Raising a child alone is no joke. Especially, my husband died and the way he died. Carrying that forward. Because, I'm not the only one that was carrying it. My daughter had to carry that too. She had to go to therapy for that. That's what happens, We all end up in therapy. Except me. I never got any therapy. I should have. Because I was suffering from PTSD. I suffered from all the emotional abuse and all the physical abuse, and I should have gotten therapy. But again, for the longest time, I didn't have any health care. I had nothing. So there was no getting any help. Because I wasn't going to pay for that. I couldn't afford it. It wasn't until I became absolutely destitute that I started getting on Medicaid. You still had to pay a little bit. They'd send you the statement saying, yeah, well, you need to pay this each month. But, if I could pay it, I would pay it. If I couldn't, I didn't. I would just say, I can't afford it. I really can't, And things were tight. We had a tight budget. I budgeted like you wouldn't believe. I am so tight that I swear to God, that joke about, if you stuck a piece of coal up someone's rear, it turned into a diamond in a week. Well, that's how we had to live. Because I really had to manage it. I didn't have any help. I didn't have anyone there offering to help me do anything. And I was just sinking further and further and further into despair. And it was only by the grace of, the grace of one of my professors who was a dear Christian man. He was such a sweet man. And he helped me stay in my house for another year. He gave me $1,000 to help catch up the rent on my house to be able to stay in my house another year. And he also helped me, I'd had a lot of credits. I'd taken a lot of classes. So they swapped one credit out for another, one class out for another, so that I could have my degree. Because they weren't going to give me my degree. I was one class short. One class. I had all this experience. I had good grades. They screwed me over my last semester by cutting all my funding. And one class. But the gracious man that he was, he also helped get me my degree. He went in there and talked to them. They discussed it. And I had taken a lot of other classes, graphic arts, a lot of computer classes. I had oodles of credits, just not that one specific credit. And he went ahead and he talked to the other department heads, and they agreed to let me have my degree. I could swap out one of the other computer classes for my degree. Because I had, like I said, I had good grades. I was a good student. I showed up. I did the work. I didn't complain, and I worked hard. But now the problem is I could not see. My daughter finally got her license back, so she was the person who drove. And it was like, God, it wasn't until 2016 that I finally, I had insurance, and I could go have the surgery done to help with the eye crossing. And I couldn't get glasses because they don't pay for glasses. I didn't have enough money for glasses, so I was wearing a pair of old glasses that was like 8 years old. Because, my daughter needed glasses. And because she grew so fast, my daughter, God, it was so expensive because she would grow. She's really tall. She's almost 6 feet tall. I'm only like 5'4", 5'5". But she grew like crazy. I was going through 3 sizes of clothing and shoes a year. All the way up until high school. High school is when she kind of slowed down. So as you can imagine, I was desperately just trying to get clothes on her back and keep shoes on her feet. I would go to garage sales. I would hit, friends would have kids that grew out of their clothes. I'm like, hey, you need those clothes? What are you going to do with those clothes? So then they would give them to me, I would find clothes closets. I was just desperately trying to keep her clothed. And yeah, we didn't have a lot of money. And me, at one point in time, because took so much money to keep her in shoes and clothing, just to keep up with her growth spurts, I was using duct tape on the bottom of my shoes to keep the soles on. Because I hadn't bought myself a new pair of shoes in years. I think the shoes that I'd had, these old black pair of shoes, that I used, to go to work in. These are my work shoes. You had to have nice pair of shoes to go to work in, because I worked in offices, which I hated, absolutely hated it. It was being held on with duct tape. If it was raining out, my feet would get wet. And then I'd always have to carry that tape around with me just in case they started to come undone. It was awful. Just going from clothes closets, garage sales, hand-me-downs. Walmart. Walmart's a great place for sometimes, and for little kids anyway. After she got to adult sizes, that didn't work anymore. But when she was little, Walmart would have these clearance racks, right? With these cute little clothes, brand new clothes for like $1, $2, just to clearance them out. I would buy them. Because that was the only way I could, keep. And I didn't want her to have all hand-me-downs. I didn't want her to have all used clothing. I wanted her to be happy, to have a few new things. But that also meant that I didn't get anything. That means that I didn't have new clothes. That means I didn't get new shoes. I didn't get glasses. It was so frustrating. But that's what you do when you're a parent, And as I said, my daughter is my everything. I love her dearly. She means a lot to me. Um, yeah. So we went on, got our degrees. At least I did. The pandemic came along, it screwed hers up, unfortunately. But I went ahead and got mine. Um, I couldn't go into my field. I would go for interviews, you know, but I was so afraid and nervous when I was interviewing that they'd find out that I couldn't see. I would just really, the interviews they didn't go well. I was a nervous wreck. So I didn't get to go into that field. I still can't do it. Like I said, it's so hard on my eyes that I cannot do it. Which also means writing. That's why I'm doing this as a vlog. I was just gonna write it all down, but honestly, I don't have a computer that really works anymore. This is my daughter's laptop that I'm doing this on, and it's crappy. my computer, which I had struggled to keep that thing running. I learned more about computers by having to fix my own computer than I ever could have by taking a class. I could pretty much build my own computer, but I don't have the money for that either. It's still expensive. I live on a fixed income now with my daughter and my soon-to-be son-in-law, which I'm very grateful for. My daughter's beautiful. She knows I'm losing my sight. She knows I'll eventually go blind, but she's right there. She's right there. She's my heart. No matter the struggles, she was worth it. And I'm so glad I didn't abort her. Best choice I ever made. And we have a very good relationship. We have a good relationship. See, there's my happy ending. You're probably thinking, oh God, but now you're sick and you're going to go blind and you don't really have any income. You only live on a fixed income, blah, 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 all these bad things. But no, that isn't how my story ends. That's how my story begins. My awakening. We're getting closer to that, by the way. Just so you know. We're getting closer to that story. But we still have years of pain and sorrow and heartache. We're almost there. We're almost there. I'm almost done. But anyway, I couldn't go into my field. I had 2 useless degrees. I couldn't work on computers anymore. So that meant that I had to do a job change. The first job change that I had was working retail. That was awful. That just destroyed my back. In fact, that's what led to me losing my house. We weren't allowed to sit down. You couldn't sit down. You didn't get breaks. Lunches were just, you can just eat there at the counter. Well, that also meant that you didn't get to sit down. God, and I would get such terrible migraines when I was working there because the pain in my back. I mean, I have a messed up back. But standing on my feet all day, that made it worse. We ended up getting fired from that job because my daughter, feeling bad for me, told me to go lay down in the back, right? Just go lay down for a little bit. I'll wake you up in a little bit, okay? Just lay down and see if you can't get rid of the headache, because I was really nauseous. When we didn't get breaks, I was just going to go back there, and instead of eating for lunch, I was just going to lay down. Because we got paid through our lunches, because you were right there. And we didn't get breaks, like I said, so I just went back there to lay down for a little bit. And the lady came in and just started having a cow. She wouldn't even let me explain. It was just a mess. And she fired us right there, saying that I was doing this all the time. And it's like, no, I'm not. I feel like shit. I'm back here because I have a migraine and my back is killing me. I only went down here to lay down for like 15 minutes. And boy, it's like I couldn't even have a break. And I wasn't sad that she fired us because that job was killing me. She wasn't paying us diddly squat. It was just a disaster. I mean, even her own daughter was taking money out of the till. I couldn't even believe what her daughter would do. But anyway, I'm not going to go into that. That was just a disaster. It made my back worse. And because of that, it got so bad that I couldn't, there came an episode in which I couldn't get out of bed. This was like, end of 2018, beginning of 2019. So then there was no money coming in. The house went into foreclosure. I could hardly walk. I had to wait for my daughter to get out of bed to help me get out of bed. And I tried applying for Social Security disability. And apparently I wasn't severe enough. I didn't have enough problems. And I was like, I have macular degeneration. I have lymphedema. I'm diabetic. I can't get out of bed. And you're going to tell me that you're not going to help me? And they didn't. And we lost our home. And we ended up moving into this crappy, rundown little camper. And it was awful. It was just truly awful. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. And I'll talk to you in a little while. See you in the next video. Love, peace, and blessings to you. And remember, I love you. And don't forget to shine.